All right, so it says we're live. Just want to welcome everybody. Hello, I'm Rob with ScrappyDew.com, and this is the ScrappyDew Live Show, where I'm joined by one, two, three, four more people this time, and we have a very special guest with us. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we're going to start off with Christopher Allen with BrutusMonroe.com. Go ahead, Christopher, introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Allen, and I own Christopher Allen Designs. I am also the owner of the Brutus Monroe stamp line, which you can find at BrutusMonroe.com.
All right, next on this list here is Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey everyone, my name's Ken, and you can find me over at www.creativeken.com.
All right, and we have Michelle from Michelle My Bell Creations. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm Design Team Leader and Facebook admin for ScrappyDew Creations. And I'm also admin for Two Guys in a Cricut Facebook group. And you can find my blog at michellemybellcreations.com.
All right. And then we have our very special guest here, Kay Hall. You may know her as Clever Someday. Go ahead, Kay.
Hi, I'm Kay Hall, and I have been doing the Clever Someday blog for about 5 years now, and you can find me at cleversomeday.wordpress.com, and I'm also on YouTube at Clever Someday channel and Twitter at Clever Someday also.
All right. So if you guys are new to this kind of program, welcome, first of all. Now there's a couple things that you may want to think about whenever you're watching this. This is interactive. This is live. Feel free to type your question below, and we'll answer it. Now there is typically a 30 to 60-second delay between what we're talking about and what you guys are actually seeing. Okay, so keep that in mind also. But we'll get back to it because we can actually bring in comments. Just like this one here. Hasn't started yet, and so on. So yeah. Sorry about that. We'll try to start on time next time. But yeah, so we can bring in those comments. All right, first one to go over a couple things. We have SVG Hunter news. We'll start off with that. SVG Hunter has been released. If you go to svghunter.com, it's Michelle Mybell's project that she's been working on, where she finds the SVGs, and you guys can use her program and search and find them because she has tagged all these websites that have free SVGs, and all you have to do is just search and you can find them. Okay, so we've created an update for it. Now there's version 1.0.1, which makes the process streamlined. Now you no longer have to open up a database file. It automatically downloads one for you every time you open up that program. Okay, so if you have SVG Hunter and you haven't checked, I think that update was maybe 3 days ago or 2 days ago. Check it out. Just go relog in and download it. You'll notice that you no longer need to download a database. It's all internally with the program. Okay, so SVG Hunter, check that out. SVG Library also has an update. As soon as this show is over with, I'll upload a video on what is new on that. All you have to do to get that update is just go to -12.com/SVG Library/updates, and we'll post that link in the little description box as well. Okay, so a lot of new updates. Christopher Allen, he left, so I guess he can't update me on Brutus Monroe, but we'll get back to him. All right, so Kay, she's going to be talking to us about fonts, and prior to the Hangout, I posted the question, or in the video there was a question, is where do you find your fonts? And it seems like, Kay, a lot of people use DaFonts. Is that the most common website that you see?
That's pretty much the go-to, yeah.
I didn't know if there's any other ones out there, but
there's a few other I'm going to mention, and also some tips for making the most out of DaFonts. So.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to turn the show over to Kay. We're going to monitor questions, and we'll interrupt Kay as questions arise. Is that okay, Kay?
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
All right. I have a slideshow here so that you can see some visuals instead of looking at me. So let me see if I can pull that up. It's not it. And what do I need to do for screen share, Rob?
Yeah, if you move your mouse in the top left, you'll see the two bubbles, or it's a blue bubble, and then right below that you'll see the little icon that says screen share. So you'll have two little bubbles.
There it is. Okay.
There you go.
Let's try this again. Okay. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay, now let me get my presentation. Okay, can you see it now?
We sure can.
All right. So I just want to go through some basic terminology in case any of you are new to fonts. The first term we have to go through is a typeface or a font. There is a technical difference between these two words, but that's not important, so we can use them interchangeably. It just means a set of letters and characters that match each other. Most of you grew up with computers and have heard this term with Microsoft Word and so on, so most people know what this is now. I've got here on the screen 3 different fonts. Obviously they can look very different, and but the set of them together is called a font. The next term that you may or may not be familiar with is the Dingbat Font, and that's the actual typographic name for a font that's made up not of letters and numbers but of pictures. And this used to be printers' symbols that were formed out of lead that they used to fill space, and they called them dingbats, and that's carried over with us, and now you can get dingbats with everything from frames to hearts to your little hipster symbols like you see here, to animals and Star Wars ships and just about anything you can think of. I saw one the other day that was bugs on a stick. So you can think of it, you can probably find a Dingbat font that goes with it. The next word I want to introduce you to is the word glyph, and all a glyph is the name for one individual character in a font. So sometimes you hear this used incorrectly to mean the fancy extra characters, but that's not actually what it means. Actually, every character in a font is a glyph. So the capital A is a glyph, the lowercase a is a glyph, the bicycle's a glyph, and so on. Each one of those is a glyph. So when we talk about the fancier fonts, they may have thousands of glyphs per font, whereas your basic one usually has less than 256. Some of them only have 26 uppercase, or maybe they have 26 plus 26 and the numbers. But the word glyph means an individual character within a font. So the next thing I want to talk about is TrueType and OpenType. These are the .ttf and .otf that you see a lot. And there are some very technical differences between these two, but those differences are not important to us. Almost all of our cutting software uses either one. And so if you see one or the other, you can download either one. Just as my rule of thumb, and there's not really any technical reason for this, this is just what's worked out best for me. I usually download the OTF on my Mac and the TTF on my Windows machine, but it really doesn't matter. You can do both. You can mix and match. All the cutter software now can use either one. So all you need to know is that these are the two formats that you're looking for, and almost all your fonts are in this format anyway, so that's not really anything you even need to worry about. There is one more format that I'm going to introduce tonight that's specific to cutting, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So the reason that you might want to know about fonts, and especially if you're a Cricut Explorer user, because this is the first time with the Cricut Explorer that you've been able to use TrueType fonts and OpenType fonts. And the thing about fonts is they're great for cutting. They have the same form factor as our cutting files. They're vectors, and they don't have overlapping paths, and so they're already packaged like a cut file. Not only are they packaged like a cut file, but they're packaged together in sets. And so not all of the amateur ones match perfectly, but a lot of times they match together, especially the dingbats, like these bottles here from the Bergamot Ornaments font. they match together. So I know if I'm working on a project, I can get those that match. It's like having a Cricut cartridge. They all match together. And of course, we know the letters match. And so the fonts are a great place to get a convenient matching package of files that are ready to cut. They're widely compatible with just about every cutting software now can use TrueType and OpenType fonts. So they're just a great way to increase your cutting files with taking advantage of this format that's so widely available. Very abundant. There are literally hundreds of thousands of fonts online. Now, all those are not good for cutting, and I'm going to talk about how to narrow it down to the ones that are. And the nice thing about fonts is they really make you look good. If you pick a nice font, you can put one word together in a nice font, and you've just created an instant design, and everybody thinks you're a genius. I really like to work with word art. I don't have any artistic talent on my own, but I can take the type designers, the font designers' work and incorporate it into mine so easily. It's just an instant way to have a nice design, is to pick good fonts. So where to find fonts? Dafont.com, #1 on our list here. It is the biggest, the safest. It's well organized. It's not the best organized, but it's well organized. I have a video on my blog, how to get the most out of Dafont, that will teach you some tricks in Dafont. People talk a lot about font organization. Basically, I leave the fonts on Dafont and I don't go get them until I need them. I can preview there the phrase that I'm looking for. I can personalize the search, and I can even make my own categories. So I love Dafont. I love all the features there. And I would encourage you to look at my video if you're a Dafont fan. Make sure that you're getting the most out of it. Second on the list is fontspace.com. It has a lot of the same fonts as Dafont. But what I like about FontSpace is the fonts are tagged by category. So it's a lot easier to find a specific font on FontSpace than it is on Dafont. For instance, if I'm looking for a robot dingbat, I can type in robot dingbat. Actually, I can do robot dingbat fonts in Google, and almost always the first hit is going to be from FontSpace because they have fonts tagged, and you can't really do that on Dafont. So FontSpace is a really well organized, and so I like that a lot. It has a lot of overlap with the same fonts. Fontsquirrel.com is great because all the fonts there are commercial use okay. Now, a lot of the fonts on Dafont and FontSpace are too, and on both Dafont and FontSpace you can narrow your search by free for personal use, free for commercial use, and so on. So you really, if you use those a lot, you want to learn how to search those for the kind of rights that you're looking for your projects. Another font site that is a favorite of die cutters and scrapbookers is kevinandamanda.com. They have great fonts there. A lot of them you'll recognize from Cricut cartridges. I don't know whether they bought the designs or just did lookalikes, but because that's the style that is popular at Kevin and Amanda, is very in line with the Cricut style. And then another one on here that I put on the other end of the spectrum, losttype.com is a really hip and trendy font site. The fonts there are by donation, so you can put 0 in the donation and download it and try it out. And if you like it, you can go back and make a donation based on whatever you think it's worth to you. But the fonts there are beautiful. They're up to date. They really make your work look nice. And Michelle's going to have a list of all the complete addresses for all these sites. So
yeah, she's posting them now. I got a quick question for you, Kay.
Sure.
What can someone expect? You know, if I'm wanting to purchase one of these, what can I expect to pay? You know, what's a good price range? You know, like I don't want to get robbed. You know, I don't want to spend too much. But what's the average going rate for a font?
Wow. Well, that's a really good question because it is all over the map. These 5 locations that I have on the screen right now are all free fonts. Like I said, losttype does ask for donations, and that's the designers participate in that so that you'll be familiar with their work. But they do hope you'll go back and donate based on what is worth. We'll talk about another site, letteringdelights.com, where the fonts typically are about $3, and a couple times a year they go on sale for $1. A font at the Silhouette store is $2, I believe. So a lot of the basic fonts that just have uppercase, lowercase, and numbers and punctuation can be had for under $5. And then you'd have another tier in the $10 to $12. Then you go on up to the professional fonts like Samantha that I'm sure we're going to have questions about. Samantha has several thousand glyphs, and all of them work together. It's a really phenomenal undertaking, and that's normally over $150. It's on sale now for $37. So it really runs the gamut. You're going to pay more if you want the commercial rights, of course, because you're making money off it. You have to expect to invest some. But really, you can get a very nice collection of fonts for absolutely free, just from these sites that I'm talking about tonight and from some of the lists that I'm going to introduce you to as we go on. So I would encourage you to get familiar with the free fonts and try those out and get comfortable before you go out and start spending money, because really, I mean, I love fonts and I love to go buy nice ones. Some people are into shoes, I'm into fonts, and I don't mind spending money on them. But you want to be sure that you know how to use them and can get the most out of them, so that you're not just wasting your money. I've gotten to know some type designers online over the years, and they're great people, and I want to see them flourish and prosper and keep giving us these beautiful fonts. But on the other hand, you know, you need to kind of know what you're doing before you go out and start spending money on them. Did that answer your question?
That sure did. Thanks, Kay.
Okay. All right, so the next thing is, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this because it varies by your operating system, but you need to understand that for a font to work, it's not like a piece of clip art that comes into your specific software package like Cricut Design Space or Silhouette Studio. It's actually a system resource that gets loaded onto your computer, becomes part of your computer's overall resources. So the basic steps in all the operating systems, whether you're Windows or Mac, and whichever flavor of Windows or Mac, where you would be downloading it, then you almost always have to unzip it, then you're going to install it, and then you're going to have to restart whatever software it is that you want to use it with. The caveat to that is that Make a Cut and Scal can load fonts on the fly, which is actually a very good feature, because then you don't have to load all your fonts before you open the program, and you don't have to keep all your cutting fonts loaded up so that they slow down when you open up Word, for instance. So, but in general, the process is download, unzip, install, and restart to see your fonts show up. And there'll be an install button after you've unzipped the font and clicked on it. You'll see an install button. You click that. It's a very simple process, very specific to operating system. So if you don't know how to do that, there'll be good tutorials online for your operating system. You can probably find it in your help system on your computer. So, for instance, you would Google how to install fonts on Windows Vista, and get the instructions that are specific to your machine, because it's not a die cutting trick. It's an overall system computer skill that you need to have, and you need to make sure you're doing it right for your particular operating system. Any more questions, Rob?
I'm not seeing any right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on then. Okay, where to start? If you have never used a system font, if you've never loaded a different font on your computer, and if you've never die cut with one, there are some good lists on the internet of fonts for die cutting. Normally when you go to Pinterest is a great place to find lists of fonts for all different kind of things. But you'll find, for instance, a list of chalkboard fonts or a list of nautical fonts or something. But most of those are not for die cutters. The die cutter is looking for things that are not too detailed, that the lines are not too thin. You'll notice when you're looking at the fonts that I've picked out, they look a lot like the images on your Cricut cartridges, and that's no coincidence, because cutting files all have some similar characteristics of what cuts well. And so I've put together some lists on my blog of curated fonts for die cutters. I have a couple of lists. One of them you see on the screen here of I have 2 lists of cursives for die cutters. Cursive fonts that work really well, that weld really nice and cut really nice. I have a list of dingbats for die cutters, 10 to start with, that just sort of give you a all over the map idea of the different kind of dingbats that are available. People that have been used to having to buy Cricut cartridges and that see these things are available in dingbats usually just go crazy, because it's like having cartridges free. And so if you are just getting started, you might want to stick with lists or ones that other people have recommended for cutting until you develop your eye for what cuts well. And of course, the Cricut Explorer is really kind of changing our definition of that, because it can cut more detailed than what we've been used to before. So we don't have to even be as careful as we have been in the past. But this is a good way to start and know you're going to be successful, is to pick a list that somebody else has picked out that says, hey, this is a good one for die cutting. And I have a number of these on my blog on the Fonts Resources page, which is listed on the list of links that Michelle's given you. What I want to talk about a little bit tonight is specialty fonts, because these are things that people tend to not know about. These are still pretty well-kept secrets because they're not on DaFont. They're on individual blogs or individual sites that sell these, and so you might not know about them, that they're available to you as a die cutter. There are a number of fonts that have been developed just for die cutters, because people said, hey, I want a font that just has the shapes. One of these is called 09 Cutups. I developed it in 2009 when we were using Scowl with the Cricut, and there weren't many of the standard scrapbooking type shapes, the scallops and the tags and the nesting shapes and that kind of thing. So I developed it just with die cutting in mind. I've had that available on my blog for, 5 years now, and it's been downloaded tens of thousands of times, but it's not on DaFont, so it's still more or less a secret. This is across the top line is another font that I developed called Border Bits, and in Cricut Design Space you cannot wrap text to a path. You can type in a straight line, but in most other cutting software, in Silhouette Studio and Make the Cut, and in Sure Cuts a Lot, you can wrap text to a curve. In Silhouette Studio, you can't wrap an image to a curve. So I wanted a solution. Well, how can I wrap an image to a curve? Well, I can wrap an image to a curve if I turn it into a font first. So I made a font called Border Bits, and this is what you see across the top of your screen, that has grass and notebooks and scallops and waves and things, flowers, that make a border that then you can curve into whatever your path is. So, but even in the Cricut, it would be useful if you needed to make a straight border, or a straight border of grass, for instance. You can make it as long as you want. You can randomize it. So this is a really useful font to die cutters, even if you can't wrap text to a path. That's called Border Bits. It's on my it's on my Fonts resource page. It's on my blog. It has its own video even to go with it. Another really popular kind of font, and Rob was asking me this before we got started, is the Monogram fonts. This is Circle Monogram in the middle of your screen, and this is from a company called Font Brothers by a designer named Harold Lohner, and this is one of the popular monogram fonts. You see the other one's Vine Monogram, also by Harold Lohner, and you just type it and it makes the circle for you. So a lot of these specialty fonts, people have solved a problem with a font making it easy, and Circle Monograms is one of those. This is $20 for personal use and $99 for commercial use, I believe. Well worth the money and the time you would spend making this some other way. The
Okay,
letters here in the, yeah.
There's a question here from Trezek that popped in maybe a couple minutes ago, and I guess you're probably going to get into it. How do you actually use the dingbats when you were talking about dingbats?
They are typed in like any other letter, and you would usually use you might need a character map so you know which, for instance, to know that the A is a bird and the B is a dinosaur or whatever. You might have to use a map, or sometimes you just type randomly until you get the one you want. But we can look at that when we get to the demo part.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Can I mention something just real quick?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Christopher again. I'm Trezek. I believe that you may have commented on, correct me if I'm wrong, on one of the videos that I had posted actually using the dingbats with the Explorer. The video that I posted where I am using the Versamark pen, the perfect pen where I do the embossing on the front of the card for the Halloween cards, those are actually dingbats. So I kind of go kind of in depth in that video, showing you exactly how to bring the dingbats in and how much you can do with the dingbats. I mean, I think we made coloring book pages with them once, so if anybody's watching and they've seen that video, that is what I used for that. There's so many dingbats you can use out there.
Cool, Chris, and maybe in the comments you can post the link so that they can actually see that.
Okay.
Right. Thanks, Chris. I saw that video, and you're right. That was great. Basically, dingbats, once you type them in, they're just like any other piece of art. You know, they really don't have any. They're really just at that point. They're just like any other cartridge image, just like any other SVG. You know, once you type them onto your mat, they're just like any other kind of art, and they range from like Christopher said, a coloring book image to a silhouette image to now they've got some that even look like photographs. As computers get to where they can handle more sophisticated, bigger font files than they used to could. So yeah, that's a real good one. If you'll get that link, it'd be great. Okay, we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. In the black and gold on your screen is a Rhinestone font. This is another common specialty font that's popular in the die cutting world, and this is where you just type your letters. You do have to size these exactly right so the holes end up the size of the rhinestones you want to use. But obviously if you're doing a word, it's a whole lot easier to just type it than it is to pull from 26 different SVG shapes and put them into a row and space them all out. So Rhinestone fonts are very popular. There's a company called Synergy 17, and I forgot to put this link on the list, but they give away a free Rhinestone font on the 17th of every month. So even if you're not interested in rhinestones yet, you should be collecting those every 17th of the month so that if you ever are, you'll have yourself a collection of them. In the red and blue is another font that I designed. It's called Banner Bridge, and the picture here, the triangles are an inch high. I wanted a font that I could cut little tiny pennants in one piece. So it's a combination of a stencil font inside a triangle, and so you can type out and cut that to make your design. Since I did that, that was obviously in 2011 because that's an old picture. These pennant fonts have become very popular, and Kimberly Guestwine has done 5 or 6 of them. They're not stencil fonts; they won't cut in one piece, but they have different shapes of banners, and they're so much fun to play with and make different combinations of things and stuff. And she's got some really great Dingbat fonts and great all kinds of fonts for cutting and for print. So that's another good place to look. I didn't list her separately because her fonts are at both FontSpace and DeFont. They tend to come out on FontSpace a week or two earlier, then they get onto font. But if you're not following her on Facebook or whatever, you might want to do that, because she's I think she has a silhouette, and so she's a friend of the die cutter community. She even posts cut files sometimes, but she's got hundreds of fonts that are very popular and great for all kinds of die cutting use as well. So the next kind of specialty font I want to talk about is a single line font. And this is something that stumps everybody the first time, and it's really stumping a lot of Cricut users right now, because for the first time you have these pens that are so easy to use, and you have these writing style fonts, so they work really well to make a single line, but then when you try to use another font, you get these double lines and you're not really understanding why. So if you look at the image I have on the screen, the top is Comic Sans. If you were to type it out of your computer normally, this is what the cut file would look like. It goes around the outline of the letter. That's the way all cut files are. That's the way all TrueType fonts are, and all OpenType fonts are. By definition, they have to be a closed path. So they have to trace around both sides of the line to define how the font looks. That's great for cutting, terrific for cutting. It works great for printing, because in a print situation, the computer knows to just fill in that outline, and it gives you the letter that you're used to seeing. But then when you put the pen in the Cricut or the Silhouette and you do that, and you want to write it like it looks like handwriting, you write it and it gives you this outline. And people call it bubble letters, or how can I fill it in? Well, you can't really fill it in. It's a different animal. It's an outline. And so you need something that's a single line, like the second line I have here, and that is what we would call a single line font, or a single path font. Engraving font is another name for it. If you're going to write with a pen, and also the Rhinestone people like these fonts too, because if they're going to wrap stones to a font path and be able to write a word in the smallest number of stones, they need a single path like that too. So these single lines are very very valuable, very sought after, and this is a big deal that Cricut has put a handful of these into their software. But normally they're kind of hard to get. So like I said, TrueType and OpenType can't support the single line by definition. Mathematically they can't. So a lot of the cutter software has their own proprietary OpenPath format, which Cricut does. Whatever they're using for their writing fonts is proprietary. We can't download those or share those with another cutter or anything. They're just built in, and there's some sort of proprietary format. Some of the other cutting software, I don't remember which ones now, but they have their own built-in single path fonts that are not transferable between systems. But recently, Lettering Delights and Make the Cut, and I'm not sure exactly who was involved, came up with a new format called OPF, which stands for Open Path Font, and it is a non-proprietary format. It's basically a broken TrueType font that is able to be used across the board. But right now, the only two softwares that use it are Make the Cut and Scowl. So if you have Make the Cut or Sure Cuts a lot, then Lettering Delights has several dozen of these single line fonts, and they're fantastic. This is their Comic Sans underneath. I just wanted one to show you. I'm not a fan of Comic Sans, but I wanted to show you the same font up and down. That was the only one that I could find both of. If what we would normally do, if you don't have a single line font, and normally you don't, you can fake it by using a very thin TrueType or OpenType font. So what I have here on the screen is the single line version of Francisco, which is Lettering Delights font, and then I have the TrueType version, which is just a very thin version. When you write this pen size, the two outlines run together and you can't tell the difference. You can't tell by looking at it that it was not single line because it just writes on top of each other. So our workaround when we can't use single line fonts, which would be any time in the Cricut that you're not using a writing font, anytime on the Silhouette because you don't have an option to use a single line font on the Silhouette, you have to choose a very thin font. These 30 or so Lettering Delights thin fonts are also available in TrueType. That's what the second one is here. And then I have lists of dozens and dozens of fonts on my blog that are thin enough that they work for this. So this is probably the most common, one of the most common font questions I get is how do I fill them in? How do I make them look like handwriting? How can I get them to not go around the outside? Well, you can't just change a setting and make it not go around the outside, even though now on the Cricut you kind of can change a setting, but only if they have that writing font already programmed in. It's not something that computer can do on the fly. So there's lots and lots of information on my fonts resource page about single line fonts and about filling in wider fonts by using offsets or a hatch fill, that kind of thing. A lot of information about that on my fonts resource page.
Oh, hey, Kay, here's a question for you. Jump in real quick. Leslie here, she says, Kay, is downloading fonts safe? Viruses, she said that she hasn't really downloaded fonts except in the MTC forum. So have you seen any viruses? I mean, is it safe?
If you stick with those known sites and you have your virus protection up to date and your malware protection update, here's the thing about fonts. There are hundreds of unscrupulous font sites out there. And usually the way you can tell is if you can find a font for sale one place and for free another place, the place that you can get it for free is not safe by definition. So if you stick with the font and you stick with FontSpace and some of those, there's always a chance anytime you're downloading anything that you could run into a problem. I mean, the Central Defense Command got their Twitter account hacked the other day, so there's nobody's safe if you're not fully protected. But fonts themselves are not dangerous for carrying things. Usually it's when people get into trouble, it's because the site that they go to tries to download an installer with the font. So you want to make sure that you hover over the link and be sure it's a TTF or an OTF or a zip file. You don't want to download anything that's an EXE file. So you would just use the same safe downloading practices that you would normally use, and I just would not encourage you to, if you think, well, hey, I can get Samantha for free or I can get one of these other expensive fonts for free. If you find it for free, then that site is inherently dangerous. So I would say stick with the sites that are not pirating fonts and that are known, have been around for years, and are reputable, and you should have no trouble.
If it's free, it's not for me. Deb Brooks. Deb Brooks also goes in and talks about, she said she's downloaded from defonts.com, no problem. So I guess stick with known sites and that list that Michelle's putting out that Kay has put together for us. Heather has a question here, Kay. She said that she's had Scal for the Expression forever. She said she just upgraded to the Explorer. Does Scal work with the Explorer? She's wanting to do those. I guess if she's trying to do those fonts that you said Lettering Delights has.
Yes.
Can she use Scal with the Explorer? Yes.
You can't cut directly to an Explorer, but what you want to do, especially if you still have your Expression, is the nice thing about Scal is you can upgrade from 2 to 3 for free, and and it won't overwrite too. So you can keep your Scal 2 to work with your expression. You can get the newer, better features of Scal 3, and then you can use that to save to SVG to cut on your Explorer. You can also send the designs from Scal 3 back to Scal 2 to cut on your expression. So there's no downside to that. Scal 4 does cost another $20, I believe, to upgrade. And I believe that on the PC side, you get the extra font features in Scal 3, but we didn't get them on the Mac until Scal 4. So I had to pay the upgrade to get it on the Mac, but I think you can get it on the PC with just the free upgrade. You could try it and see if you wouldn't lose anything to try that.
All right, not seeing any more questions, Kay.
All right. Okay, the next category of specialty fonts I wanted to make you aware of is the fonts for 3D crafting. And again, people that like to die cut have come up with some clever ways to use fonts to make their die cutting easier. And the one on the left here was done with a lattice crafting font from Susan Blue Robot, who many of you know. If you look at those little shapes there that fold over, that has many names. Some people call it Ensire. There's other names that I can't remember right now. But she made a font with those shapes in it, a whole bunch of different ones. And so you can lay those out in a circular pattern and other geometric patterns, and then fold them over with your double-sided paper and make those very easily with that font, which I thought was really a clever use for a font. And again, it's a nice example of where you have things packaged together that work together and are easy to use. On the right here is a font that I designed over at FontStruct, which is a free font design site where you can sort of it's almost like a drawing program with blocks, very easy to make your own fonts. And so I designed that a number of years ago to make pop-up words easier. This was long before Make the Cut had their pop-up program. And so that's just a couple of examples of 3D crafting fonts that are available. So this brings me to my my unveiling or my announcement tonight of my newest font for 3D crafting. This is a picture here from that appeared on the MarthaStewart.com site a number of years ago, and it's no longer on the Martha Stewart site. I couldn't track down the source, but it shows up every once in a while, people asking how to do this, and it showed up on the Cricut, one of the Cricut Facebook sites several weeks ago, and somebody wanted to know how to do this with the Cricut Explorer. And we were able to do this in Design Space, but it was a very grueling process that was just not really something that you would want to repeat on a daily basis. So I got to thinking about some of the other fonts I had done and challenged myself to see if we could come up with a font that would do these fold out, fly out letters. I don't know what you want to call them, but these letters that fold out of the page but are attached at the bottom. And this is a problem because you have to have an open path, and you can't use an open path in a TrueType font, so we kind of had to fake it a little bit. But anyway, what I came up with is a font that's a college style font that is for projects like this. And I guess we can stop the screen share now, and I'll go back and show you some of the projects. Figure out how to get off of here. Am I off? Can you see me?
Oh yeah, I can see you.
Okay. So I'll show you what some of these projects look like, and then we'll show you what the font looks like. Okay, so we wanted to look at the ribbon, like the Martha Stewart project. So here's a ribbon that I did with my font that I'm calling Top College because it's the top part of the college style letters. And we just put it into some ribbon so that you could see what that looks like. And I should have let the designers do these projects so this would look really cool. You just kind of have to bear with me here.
I saw that image. I was like, wow, that looks cool.
So,
I'm interested to see how you did it.
So this is like another idea what you might do with it. This is see if I can get this on the screen. This is like a placemat, if you can use your imagination here, where you would have the letters, you know, popping out of a placemat. Maybe use it like a place card or something. And here's another one that that I made. And I made the font. There's a companion font that makes the inside of the letters, so that on this one I cut the inside in a different color, and on this one I drew with a metallic pen on the inside color. So you can use it like a place card or in a greeting card to make this this at the top of the fold look, or you can make it fold out of a page like this, or the ribbon like this. And now I'm sure y'all will think of a bunch of other things to do with it too.
That's cool.
So let me show you in. I'll go back to the screen share and show you in Cricut Design Space how the font, what it looks like on screen and how it works. All right, can you see it?
Yep, we see Design Space.
Okay, so I just put some shapes in here just to save a little bit of time. I'm going to add my text, and if we just go we type a word, you'll see it comes up in the default font, which is Cricut Alphabet. So I'm going to go to the font list here, and I'm going to click this triangle, and this takes a long time on my machine. After I click this button, I don't know if everybody has this problem or just me. I know I have a lot of fonts, but not really that many. All right, so I'm going to type in top. Because of the nature of this font, it doesn't display nicely in this list. So I know that I'm going to see this weird little, almost little symbol looking thing, and I know that that's the only font I've got that starts with top, so I'm not going to panic at that point. What I did on this font, because after I did it without score lines, and I did it with score lines. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. And I couldn't decide whether I liked it better with score lines or without score lines. On the place card project, you really don't want score lines, and on the ribbon project, you do want score lines. So I just decided I would put one as uppercase and one as lowercase. That way you can choose when you go to do your project. So here's what it looks like in the uppercase. It has score lines built in, and the lowercase it doesn't have score lines built in. So you can choose for your project whichever one makes more sense to you at the time. And then if I were to duplicate this and change this font to a font called Collegiate FLF, which you can get from DeFont, and it's on your link list there. Collegiate FLF has like 5 different styles. The one you want is Collegiate Inside, and then when you do that, it fits this, but the problem is that the way that Cricut resizes things, you have to resize it manually. If we did this in Silhouette Studio, this would fit perfectly and be even the letters would be the right spacing, but because the way Cricut Design Space throws away the spacing on a font as soon as you type it in. So you have to take my word on that. We'd have to break up those letters, but they will fit this perfectly so that it'll be like having like this part will be the offset and this would be the inside. So that's how I did on these projects. I did the inner and the outer. So I intentionally did it around an existing font so that you would have the inside to add some interest to your letters. So I have the link for that that Michelle's given you. So like I said, Design Space messes up the spacing, so you'll want to split these up by, what do they call it? Split by, I forget what this button here is called. Isolate letters, so that you can kern this. And if you just use the arrow keys, then everything stays on the right line. And you can move them in where you want them. But let's say we want to put this on ribbon. We just size this and we just attach it to our ribbon and we're done. There's no there's no welding, there's no score lines, there's no nothing. This is how it needs to cut and it's done, because all that's taken care of for you. If you're doing a place card, you would need to find the center line, and you need to make sure that the bottom of these was on the center line. So I probably should have my grid on for that, but those of you who work on this all the time, you know all the tricks about using these little dots here or your center line, and you can zoom in and that kind of thing, or you can use your grid, or this little crosshair there tells you where the center line is. So again, we would just have to attach that and we'd be done to make our place card. And then we could cut this out of whatever color after we resize it to fit, so that we'd have the top layer to go on this. So that's all there is to it, really. All the work's done for you. Instead of having to cut the bottoms off those letters and add score lines and everything, that the font does it for you. So that's what it's designed for, and I hope you'll be able to come up with some fun ways to use it. Got any questions about that?
No, they were very interested in it. And they want to say, hey, how did you make your own fonts, Kay? They want to know your secret recipe.
I can say, Kay, that I have about 150 ideas going through my head right now.
Good. Yeah, I don't know what to do with half the stuff I come up with. I just make it, and then I'll leave it to you guys for the creatives to make it look good.
Yeah, Jana, she says, Kay, you're amazing. Thank you for all your great information. So that's very, very cool.
Let me answer that question about the dingbats, or let's look at that for a minute. I will. Let's see, ABC. I'm afraid I'm going to get the spinning wheel, or as I like to call it, the new Cricut logo.
Yeah, I like that Cricut logo.
Like that. Just need some little ears there. Some little antenna. It'll be great. Yeah, this is not going to work. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to switch to Silhouette Studio rather than subject y'all to this. So Let me pull up Silhouette Studio and we'll show you dingbats in that. The principles are the same. The weight is just shorter. So you bring in your text cursor and you can type in letters or whatever, and then my favorite Dingbat font is the first one I created.
Oh, hey Kay, I used your dingbats, that one that you're talking about right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I use for the ScrappyDew logo.
Oh, okay.
Do I have to pay
Cool.
you royalties?
You do now.
Okay.
So anyway, you can type. You know, if you're looking for one in particular, you can. This one comes with a character map. If I should be able to have it in my I have it somewhere to pull up, but you can type this out. Actually, let me see if I can find. I have a available on my blog. Some of you that are Silhouette Studio users might be interested to know. I have a character map on my blog, and what this lets you do, I'll go ahead and do, whoops, that wasn't good. Found it and then closed it. Yeah, this is another free resource on my blog, the character map. And what this lets you do is, and it's really helpful for Dingbat fonts, is that it lets you see all of the dingbats in a font. So the way it works is, when you open it up, it looks like this, and you just follow the instructions here, and it says to click anywhere on the grid, and then you click the A button and you choose your font. So I'm going to do the 09 cut-ups. And I'm going to click it, and then you see that all the A's and B's change to what they are from the font. So I can go here and I can type in the font name so I know what it is. And then I can either print this, or I can ungroup this and choose a specific one. Like, let's say I just wanted this banner, I can go ahead and ungroup this and grab it and be done. Or I can change all of this to, I can go to convert to path, and then it'll just be shapes, and I won't even have to pull up the font anymore. I'll just have all these shapes on a page. I can put this in my library or whatever. But some people like to print these and put them in a notebook so they have them, they can look at them. So this is a really helpful tool if you're using Dingbat fonts. You can also use your character map in Windows. It's not very helpful in printing, but it's an easy way to pull up and see what the characters are. Then what you're doing is...
Okay,
yeah.
Your audio's maybe a little messed up again.
Oh, it's messing up again. Okay. Not sure how to fix that. I think it gets tired or warm or something.
You may want to try to, I don't know if you can, unplug and plug it back in.
Yep.
And I guess while you're doing that, you can run and post some of these comments that people are saying. One here is Deborah. She says she just bought the Samantha font today without your guidance, but she would never been able to use it, so she wanted to thank you publicly here. And Marissa, she says she can't wait to use the font making things with her grandchildren for her grandchildren's birthday. Thanks, Kay. And then we have this one here. And once you plug back in, I'm going to unmute you here. But it says, "What is the font that you said that goes with your font?" So what are those two names again that people need to search for? Let me see if I can unmute you. And okay.
We good? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, the name of my font is Top College, and it is going to be an exclusive download. We've got the link that Michelle's going to give you, and we're going to keep that active for about 2 or 3 days, so grab it now. Then we're going to tuck it away it'll be exclusive through the rest of January. You'll be the first in the neighborhood to have it, and then it'll go up on my blog. And if you would like to have some of your projects featured, I would love to have some cool projects to put on that blog post. So if any of you are budding designers or whatever and would like to have your work shared, then that would be a great thing for me to have when it does go live. And then the companion font is called Collegiate FLF, and then the specific one of that set is the one that ends in inside, and that's also on the list of links that Michelle's put together for you.
Okay, and Michelle's posted them all, so check out the links below.
And then just about everything I've mentioned tonight is on my, if you go to my blog, cleversomeday.wordpress.com, there is a tab for fonts. If you click on that, then there's just a page that has all kinds of information about fonts related to die cutting. And I have a ton of information lately, the last several blog posts about Samantha, because I've been getting a lot of questions about that.
Now someone says the link for the K specialty font's not working.
Oh.
So we'll try to fix that. I don't know if it's our end or Google's end, or we'll check that. You can go ahead and continue, Kay.
All right. Well, I think that's about all I have for except for taking questions. So
okay.
I'll go back to.
All right. Let me get everyone back up here. Ken, you there? Christopher, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys would help me scroll through some comments, see ones that you find. Mary just said, another great broadcast. Thank you. Deb Brooks said, this is so cool. She said she's going to go get it. Yeah, they're just basic comments right now. You know, how very informative. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, Kay, with us. So, how long did it take you to make that font, Kay?
It took me a couple of days, like long 12-hour days or something. It's very tedious, but once I get going, I can't stop.
I bet. It looks like you put a lot of work in this, and I think everyone's going to appreciate that exclusive download that you're giving everyone. All right, yeah, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them down below, and Kay can answer them, you know. Yeah, Pam wants to know, can we download it from Kay's blog? Is that where the download link is on your blog, Kay?
It was a box.com link.
Okay.
I'm trying to double check it and make sure.
Okay, all right, all the links are in the comments section. Let me see if I can find it. If you see it in the comments stream, Ken, go ahead and post it up. Case specialty font, here it is. Yeah, well, it's not going to show it up on here. But that's the comment that you're looking for that has K's box, or K's font, appbox.com. It's a long string of characters. All right. You know, Kathy, she says she's only found the link from K's font. She didn't find the one about the layering one, the collegiate.
Okay, that's on Font, but it was on the. I gave Michelle a long list of links, so it should be on there.
All right, Michelle's going to be reposting all those. You may have to scroll down. There's a lot of comments, but you may want to search. Hit up the search. All right. Yeah, not seeing any more comments or questions. But I did want to move on to a couple of quick Cricut tips that Ken's going to touch up on today. And once we get Christopher Allen back, we'll discuss some Brutus Monroe with him. So let me pull up the questions. And these come from Facebook, by the way, and this was that Monogram font that came up on Facebook. She wanted to know where she find that font, and we shared it with you today. Kay said that there's one that you can use online that people are using online. There's also one that you can pay for. Links are below, but this is the one that I wanted Ken to touch up on. And it says, is there a way to skip the print part when you do a print and then cut? This person's already printed it out, and she doesn't want to re-go through the process, waste the ink to print it again just to cut. So can you do this, Ken? Is that possible?
This is an interesting question because I have had a lot of people say that they've been able to achieve it. However, I don't recommend it. Part of the process is a start-to-finish process, so you're supposed to print it, put it in the machine because it's waiting for that paper to get the registration marks. Now, with that said, every single time in Design Space, it's placing that item for the most part in the same spot. So I think that's why some people have achieved it and it looks okay. However, I wouldn't recommend it and it wouldn't be ideal. However, like I said, in the Facebook comments and other Facebook groups, I've heard a lot of people say that they have printed something for whatever reason, they didn't want to come back to it, they saved the project, went back and hit go, and it worked just fine for them. So I'm not saying it can't be done, however, it wasn't designed to be done that way. I tried it and it worked for me one time, and the other time it did not work for me, but that could be because right before hitting go, the image might have moved a little bit, but a lot of people have had success with it. So, but if you ask Cricut or if you ask a product expert, they're going to tell you it is a seamless process and you should do it at the same time.
Gotcha.
People always find ways around stuff.
Yeah, appreciate that tip, Ken. If you guys didn't know, Ken created a group with Christopher Allen called Two Guys and a Cricut. I think you can just search Facebook for that, right, Ken? Is that the process?
Yeah.
Then they have to go through the approval process.
They can go to either search Two Guys and a Cricut or www.facebook.com/group or /groups/Two Guys and a Cricut all spelled out. So.
Okay, and they have to have some sort of background check and make sure that they're good to go. Okay,
they're good to go.
Because it is a vetted process, and they check out vanity.
And
what was that?
is it the number 2?
They can search either the number 2 or spell out 2. I have them both tagged that way. So, but the big thing in our group we've tried doing is adding a lot of experts, so that way. If one of the admins, because we do work full-time, is gone, hopefully we can take an expert or get some information stuff. So it's growing very quick, and it's a very active group, and it's just trying to stay on top of it right now. So
you're almost close to 3,000, right?
Correct, yeah. Which is actually kind of small compared to some other groups. So, but 3,000, I tell you what, from an admin standpoint, is a lot of work. So.
It's a great group. It moves fast. You type out a question and it's like boom, an answer's coming out. Very helpful group. All right, Christopher Allen, you got the Brutus Monroe product. The stamps went out. Have people received them?
They have. There are approximately 128 stamps that are out there right now. About, I think, 18 more that will go out tomorrow. We've got a lot of orders since the stamps started being used, so that's kind of exciting. And we have 2 more sets that are going to be released this upcoming week. I'm just waiting for my manufacturer. It's to give you a quick background, everyone, on the process. Everyone has been emailing me and asking me where are the new stamps, what's going on with the stamps. I design the stamps. The stamps are then sent to my manufacturer. My manufacturer creates a masking layer, it's called, for them to make sure that the stamped images, when you get them, have enough space around them in order to put them on an acrylic or glass block to stamp. What happens is, unfortunately, as a graphic designer, I am used to making sure that everything is very neatly spaced and everything looks really well on the finished package. But unfortunately, in a stamp designer's world, which I'm trying to put that hat on, that's not exactly how it works. Things have to be spaced out in a way that I'm not used to. So one of the stamps have been approved. They send me over the masking for final improvement. For final approval, I mean, And then the second stamp set right now, hopefully the art department will get back to me and we can get that through. But I can tell you that one of the stamp sets, or the stamp sets that all of the Patreons will be getting in the new stamp club, that one is going to go live on the site after all of the stamp club members get it. And then the second one that everybody has been guessing is in fact an alphabet soup stamp set. It's a great stamp set. It's my first 4x6 stamp set, so it's a big one, and it has quite a few things that you can use to create what you would think would be a bowl of alphabet soup. It comes with a full alphabet. It comes with some little fishy crackers. We'll call them fishy crackers because I don't want to get any type of letters. Also, it comes with a cracker, a spoon, all sorts of fun stuff, a soup can. So it's going to be, I think, a really fun one. Again, with the Brutus Monroe stamps, you're always going to be able to mix and match. So I want to make sure that you can get the most out of your stamps. So look for a couple more that are going to be coming up soon. You guys have given me a ton of great ideas. So I've written them all down in my Never Never Give Up journal that everybody has been commenting and liking. So it's exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I saw your post today, and you said, hey, if you've got the stamps and you started using them, post your photos. So I got a couple photos here that I pulled off your Facebook here, just to give the viewers on a little idea of what they were. So here's one right there. Here's another.
The second one, that one there, they actually also used my paper from the Many Thanks paper pack that will hopefully be released. I'm working with my printer now. The middle of next month, that little heart in the center of the thank you, there's 4 papers in the paper pad for Many Thanks that were designed with the actual size of the inside of the thank you, so you can actually punch out some of those and put them inside. So that was great how to use that. I like how everybody's using the heart right now. I think that the Valentine love is in the air. I haven't seen anyone use anything but the heart so far, so I'm excited to see. It comes with 8 different icons.
You know, isn't it kind of cool seeing your designs on other people's works?
It's crazy. It was really strange because the only 2 times that I got kind of a little bit beside myself was whenever I first saw everything going into the packaging. It was very, very exciting, and then when I started seeing people posting things using it, it was kind of just like what I've been working for 8 months has come to fruition. So it was great. It's an amazing feeling.
And then we have this last card here. Right there.
That one actually, she used the paper design on the background, and also the heart sentiment. Obviously, she used the heart in the center, a different color. And you'll notice with almost all of my papers, they are going to go in line with watercoloring and marker styles, and I really like that kind of style of things that kind of look like they were hand done. I really like that. So you'll see, and again, I don't want to give away too much, but you'll see in the paper packs that are coming out and some of the different things that I'm releasing soon. I'm trying to get them to you as quickly as possible, but it's quite a labor of love, to say the least. I can't wait to give you a new tour or a tour of the studio craft space, because I now have put up an entire separate area that is all devoted to the Brutus Monroe stamp line, and it is filling up very quickly.
Let's go through some of these comments here. Oh, we have Mary. She says she loves the Brutus Monroe paper stamps at my fingertips. Join Chris's challenge, and going to use my Brutus Monroe stamps for page 1.
Oh. That's the paper pad challenge. Thank you so much, Mary. The paper pad challenge, if you haven't seen it, it's for everyone. It's has nothing to do with me. It's just something that I thought of. You can post the video from my YouTube in any group, anywhere you want. It's a challenge that I gave to myself, and now I want all of you to do it too. All I want you to do is take a paper pad. It can be any paper pad. It can be a 12 by 12, 8.5 by 11, 6 by 6, anything you want. And over the course of 2015, you must use that entire paper pad. And it scared me too, I know. I've never used an entire paper pad. But all you do is anywhere that you are on Facebook, you just hashtag paper pad challenge, and we'll be able to look and bring up all of those based on that hashtag. And we're going to kind of go on this journey together, and we're going to use an entire paper pad over this year. And that's the challenge. I mean, I have hundreds of paper pads, and I'll just keep buying them. I could tell you that I've never used an entire paper pad. So it's going to be exciting to pick one paper pad and stick with it for the entire year until it's completely used. So join the challenge, and it'll be fun. There's no awards. There's no gifts. There's nothing that comes with it. It's just, let's see if you can do it, because I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try.
It's like the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Correct. Very close. With paper.
All right. Trace of Luck here. She said that she just got her stamps. A lot of people saying they just got their stamps. Just got my stamps today.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the project.
Deb, she posted she got hers yesterday. So
they're going all around.
Vicky here, she said.
The country, so you should get them. Should be getting them soon. There's a couple that were international, so they can't give me a guaranteed time necessarily that they get there. So fingers crossed that you get them very soon.
And the mail place loves you for their business.
They do not like me at all right now. I'll let you guys all in on a little secret. All of those envelopes have to be hand done by the post office. I'm working on because I've had trouble with my card kit, so I didn't want that to happen again. So they were all done by hand, and I'm working on a more efficient way of doing it so that the postal service does not look for me out the window and lock the door before I get up there.
Vicky said she's been following the two guys in the Cricut for a week, and she loves it. So check that out, guys. Check it out. Let's see. Yeah, Vicky Woody, she says the entire pad also freaks me out. I have hundreds too.
You can do it.
All right. Very cool. All right. So, but before we get out of here, Michelle, she's got one last thing here to say about the SVG Hunter. So I'm going to let her close us out.
Yes, I'm running a giveaway on my blog. If you go to michellemabellecreations.com and you scroll down, I think it is 3 posts, and you can enter the giveaway. I'm giving away 2 programs, and there's only a couple hours left, probably about 24 hours left, so you have about a day left to enter.
All right, cool. I guess before we go, Vicky did have one last question. How does she order the stamps, Christopher? That was her question.
Really easy. You just go to BrutusMonroe.com. The stamps are listed there. The new stamps are listed there as well. So that it's right on the homepage. I tried to make the website as user-friendly as possible. You literally go on, you see all of the projects that have been created so far, and you'll see the stamp lists that are available.
All right. I want to thank all you guys for coming out, and I want to thank Kay especially for coming out and teaching everyone about fonts. And I hope you guys got something out of this. Make sure that you go to ScrappyDew.com/live. Sign up for that free newsletter that we only put out things of when we go live. Okay, so you'll get one email letting you know what the topic is, and then you'll get a second email about 20 to 15 minutes before we go live, letting you guys know, hey, come check us out. Okay, so we'll see you next time, Thursday, same time, 9:30 Eastern time. Okay, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.